Buenas tardes. So it's about this time in your 3 days when at the TED conference in Vancouver, we start calling this TED Head. Your brain cannot handle any more information. You feeling that way? Yes, yes? Okay, I'm going to take you to your heart. We're going to spend a few minutes in your heart, strangely talking about business. But I have found that that was my secret weapon as a business person. So I'm going to talk about how you use your heart in business. What do you think is the most neglected fact in business? Emotions? I would agree. But I would also say that the most neglected fact in business is that we're all human. And we don't fit on a spreadsheet or on a balance sheet. And therefore, quite often, emotions and humans are not actually measured in a way that people think of, leaders think of the strategy of their company imagining they're humans. So what I'm going to show you today is the operating system that I've used for understanding humans the last 30 years. I've been very fortunate to have disrupted my favorite industry twice now in 30 years, and I'll show you that. These are the two companies. I started Joie de Vivre, means joy of life in French. Started that company when I was a young boy of 26, more than 30 years ago. And then 5 years ago, the young founders of Airbnb asked me to join them. So Joie de Vivre is a company that I started in San Francisco, California, created 52 boutique hotels, made us the second largest boutique hotel company in the world. Airbnb is now the largest hospitality company in the world based upon the number of accommodations we have. We have 4 million homes spread around the world. And it was the three young founders who came to me because of the strategy, the operating system I'm going to show you today is the operating system they wanted me to apply to Airbnb 5 years ago when we were a much smaller company when I joined them. So this is my operating system. Now, when I go, and I've been asked to go speak at Harvard Business School or Stanford Business School, they come and they say, well, bring us one slide that shows your business strategy. And I bring this one. And they look at me and they laugh and they say, oh, no, really, show us your real slide. I say, no, this is it. This is based upon the service profit chain. I call this what has created the habitat of happiness in these two companies that I've helped to lead. And a habitat, in Spanish, I think you might call it a ambiente de felicidad. See? See? What I love about Spanish and about just Latin America is people in the culture here, I'm lucky I'm asked to give speeches about this a lot in Latin America, speak to each other as if they're a colaborador. These are your colaboradores, and that's different than a coworker. You're a collaborator. So what you're going to see now over the next few slides are what I've used. This premise is that at the base of this heart, if you create a great culture, an environment where the employees feel like they're cared for, that creates an enthusiastic staff. Point number 2 on the heart. If you have enthusiastic staff, you're more likely to have loyal and enthusiastic, passionate customers. You grow market share, and then 4th on this heart is a profitable and sustainable business. So I call this karmic capitalism because what goes around comes around. So let me go back 15 or 17 years. This slide is meant to be dark because this was a very dark time for me. So I had started my company at age 26, grew it into the largest company in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, in terms of hoteliers. And then the dot-com bust happened in 2001, and 9/11 happened. And basically, over the next 3 years, the economy fell apart, especially in the Bay Area. So I went to a local bookstore looking for a book, trying to understand how could I save my business. I ended up starting in the business section of the bookstore. I knew that I had called my company Joie de Vivre, joy of life, so I looked for any business books that talked about joy. There weren't any. So instead, I went to the psychology and self-help section of the bookstore, which is where I really needed my help. And I went there and I got acquainted with somebody who I actually learned about in college. I only took one psychology class in college, But I remember this man, Abraham Maslow, the man who's talked about his hierarchy of needs. He said what a man can be, he must be. This need we call self-actualization, and it refers to the desire for self-fulfillment to become something, become everything one is capable of becoming. So I sat on the floor in that bookstore for 2 hours until the actual people at the bookstore said, you have to buy that book now. You can't keep sitting here. And I went home and I read some Maslow. And then I asked myself, this is true of a human. It could also be true of a company. Maslow's hierarchy of needs basically said, there are basic needs in life, physiological needs, then there's safety needs. You move up the pyramid to social belonging needs, esteem needs. And at the peak of the pyramid is where self-actualization or being all you can be is. Well, couldn't a company be all it can be? Couldn't a company be a habitat where people actually seek their self-actualization? And in that environment, we create peak experiences, which is a phrase that Maslow used to talk about. So I took this 5-level pyramid and I turned it into a 3-level pyramid. Because there's really 3 paradigms in life. You're either in survival, you're in success, or you're in transformation. And they relate to those 5 levels of Maslow's pyramid. I decided to apply at the worst of times when our company was on the road to probably going bankrupt. Ultimately, we ended up tripling in size in that terrible recession because of what I'll show you. But we took this idea of the transformation of the pyramid and we applied it to our 3 key stakeholders. First, let's talk about the employee stakeholders. So this pyramid of money, recognition, and meaning is true across cultures and across industries. The basics are in life, we all have a commodity. You know, we want to get paid, we want to have benefits. But what is interesting in business is as you move up this pyramid, you get more differentiated. And that's where loyalty is created. So let's talk about the top of the pyramid. So money is pretty clear, recognition. If you give recognition, people feel more successful, more appreciated. But it's that place of meaning. When a person has a sense of meaning in their work, they're more likely to think of their work as a calling. See, on the left-hand side, you can see job, career, calling lines up with these 3 levels. So there's 3 kinds of relationships we can have with our work. It's one of those 3. So let me tell you about, in my hotel industry, what meaning means. Well, this is somebody on the front desk of a hotel. They're checking people in. This is a housekeeper. She's the person who actually cleans your room. And then there's a bartender in the restaurant that you have in a hotel. One of the things I've learned since I wrote this book, Peak, How Great Companies Get Their Mojo from Maslow, is that meaning is different for different people. Makes sense. The truth is, for the people at the front desk of the hotel, they want to know that they've built a relationship with the guests that come and visit us on a regular basis. So when we were in a recession, in the worst of times, we decided to do something that didn't cost them any money but created lots of meaning for our front desk staff. We had someone, a person who's a regular guest in the hotel, come on stage at our normal monthly staff meeting and tell their story of why they love that hotel so much. We asked that customer, that guest, to tell stories about individual staff people so people can understand that the work they do was having an impact and had an impact on why this person wanted to come back and stay there again and again and again. Now, for our housekeeping staff, they appreciated that, but what the housekeeping staff loves more than anything else is doing a monthly potluck, where 90% of our housekeeping staff are immigrants who are new to the United States. So they build a community and a sense of connection with these other immigrants who are other housekeepers. They bring in food from their home country, and once a month they have a little fiesta or a feast during lunchtime. So what we did is we basically made that an operating procedure at all of our hotels. Again, it didn't cost anything. It was just knowing that that was something that gave meaning to the housekeeping staff. The bartenders, they're sort of mercenaries. They like to get their tips, they like to make their drinks, they like to make their money. What they cared about the most was that once per quarter, they get 2 free nights to stay at any of our 52 hotels around California. So they could actually know that that's what gave them a sense of meaning, is that they could go out and have a free vacation once a quarter. So the key in looking at this pyramid is understanding that different people in your business have a different sense of meaning. Let's move to the customer pyramid. So the customer pyramid, I'm going to use Airbnb as the example here because it's been a fascinating journey to go from being a very tiny company to now being the largest hospitality company in the world. This customer pyramid is relevant to any company, not just Airbnb. The survival need for a customer is having their expectations met. But one of the things that's true of the internet today is pre-internet, if you satisfied your customer, they might stay loyal. Now that we have the internet and have had it for a long time, customers are more promiscuous. And I'm not talking about what they do in the bedroom. I'm talking about they're less loyal to you. They're less likely to be loyal because the internet gives them more choices. So the second part of the pyramid is the desires. The desires is what makes a person feel like, they did something more than the expectation. But the magic happens at the top of this pyramid. And that's where the unrecognized needs are met. One of the things we learned at Airbnb when we went out and we started talking to our customers about what it is that people love about Airbnb. Yes, they love it's cheap. Yes, they love the fact that they get more space. Yes, they love the fact they can feel like a local. But more than anything, we learned that people want to feel the sense of belonging anywhere. Let me show you this video that was from the Super Bowl this last year. Thank you. The timing of that ad was a week after Donald Trump became president. And I thought we needed, as a company, to send a message not just to the United States, but to the world, that this is our message. His message may be different than ours. Part of the reason I live half the time now in Baja Sur, California, is because I'll be on this side of the wall. So we learned in talking to our customers that they wanted to belong anywhere. And they wanted to feel like they could belong anywhere. And so that's why that ad. So that was the sense of unrecognized need of our customers. Well, this is the third part of the pyramid. This is the investor part. I won't spend much time on it. There's a transactional alignment, which means that you're on the same page with your investors in terms of the business plan. A relationship alignment means you're going to have a long-term relationship with that investor, maybe do many businesses. And then when an investor feels like they're doing something where they're putting their money where their heart is, and they have the pride of ownership, that's the sense of legacy. So this is all three pyramids. This is the employee pyramid, the customer pyramid, and the investor pyramid. There's something that goes in the middle, and you saw it earlier. What? El corazón. Yes. Weirdly, we created the heart for my company, Joie de Vivre. We called it the Joie de Vivre heart in 1997. And it wasn't until 2002, 2003 that we figured out this Maslow thing and put that there. And at the time, I didn't know the heart should go in the middle. But if you look at the heart, the enthusiastic staff part of the heart is right next to the employee pyramid. The customer loyalty part of the heart is next to the customer pyramid. And the investor pyramid is right next to the profitable and sustainable business. So these two business models, a heart and a pyramid, have created two great companies I've been fortunate enough to help lead. And what does a heart do? It beats. Oh, yes, there we go. So actually, the heart helps these three pyramids come together. Now, for those of you who are looking at me and saying, this guy Chip on stage is a little too strange, he's a bit of a hippie from California, these are a bunch of other companies that have used Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs in their employee or their customer strategy. And for those of you who are really skeptic, go read the Harvard Business Review January-February issue from 2012, where they basically showed in 6 different articles that great culture that creates happy employees creates great companies and more profits. I wrote a book about this 10 years ago that just came out with the new 10-year anniversary edition with a whole chapter on peak leadership practices and a lot of my experiences at Airbnb. So let me finish by saying that everywhere I look today, I see pyramids. It's almost like I'm Elton John with pyramid-shaped glasses. Because I think everybody in life, whether your role is as an employee or a customer or an investor, you have a survival need, you have a success need, and then you have a transformation need. And the key for us in business is to just be wearing that pair of glasses and to see you that way. So thank you very much.